Hi artists! In this video we're going to look at making the base for a mask. So to start off with, you're going to need something to build your mask onto. And the reason for that is that we're going to try to make a mask that you could actually wear. So it needs to have a round shape to it. So I'm going to give you two choices. One is that you could use a balloon that's about the size of your head. If you don't have a balloon, another option you could use is I took a grocery bag and I stuffed it full of other grocery bags until it was about the size and shape of my head, and then what I did was I put a little bit of tape on the back to hold it into that shape. But that's going to be my round form that I try to build things on. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tape a few bottle caps onto this. The reason for that is that I want my mask to have eye holes. So I'm going to try to mark where those eyes would be. And your eyes are about in the center of your face. So I'm going to put these in about the same spot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these bottle caps in those places. And I'm going to put a piece of tape over them kind of as placeholders. I'm going to try to space them out about where I think my eyes would be, so give a little bit of space to them, and that's going to give me a spot where hopefully I'll be able to see out of later. The other thing you're going to need is some torn up paper. That could be newspaper if you have it. It could also be copy paper, notebook paper, but you're going to need two different sizes of them. One is you're going to need a few long strips. We're going to use those first. The other thing you're going to need are some smaller pieces that are about the size of the palm of your hand. And lastly, you're going to need some of our homemade glue, which is flour, water, and salt. If you haven't made that yet, check out the video that I made on making that. Alright, so let's start to make our form for our mask. And this will apply to you regardless of what you're trying to make your mask look like, whether it be a person, a character from a book or movie that you like, or if you're trying to make it look like an animal. But what we're going to do first is we're going to make this form, and then I'm going to have another video where I'm going to show you how we can add details to it. So what I've done is I've taken one of those long pieces and I folded it in half. And the reason I folded it in half was so that it would have a nice clean edge to it. I'm dipping that in my flour, water, and salt mixture and wiping it off so it's wet but not drippy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this around the perimeter of my mask. That's going to give me the outer shape of my mask. And then I'm going to build inward from there. So I might need one more piece, but we're trying to go around the outermost edge of it first. Alright, so going one more time around. So now I'll show you. So I went all the way around with those long strips. There we go. Alright, the other thing that I'm going to do before I cover everything is I'm going to deal with these places where my eye holes are going to be, because that's the one place where I don't want to cover things up. So I'm going to do that same action of folding over to make an edge, a dip, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make what will serve kind of as eyelids for my sculpture. So I'm kind of drooping that folded edge over it. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to move that one over so it's not touching the other one. There we go. So it's kind of drooping over it, but notice how it's not covering it up. I'm going to do the same for this one over here as well. So going over, there we go. And then I'm going to go along the bottom as well. So these are going to give us the eye holes that we can see out of with our mask. And then we'll cover everything else up. But that'll give us holes in our mask that we can see out of. There we go. And don't worry if they're not perfect. Perfect is overrated. We can move things around a little bit if they don't look just the way we want them. So we can adjust things. So there we go. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to try to cover the places between the eye holes and that outer perimeter. And that's where I'm going to use those smaller palm-shaped pieces. So what I'm going to start to do is covering up those places in between. I'm also going to take a really small piece and go in between these eyelids there to cover up those seams that I didn't really like over here, where that seam is not really necessary. But one thing that is important is to not just have pieces side by side. You want pieces to overlap. Where pieces overlap, you get 2 layers of newspaper instead of just 1, and that's going to make your mask stronger. We want these to be durable, and for them to be durable, we need to have layers of paper. One piece of paper by itself is not very strong. The more layers we get, the stronger it will be. So our end goal is going to be that we're going to try to get 3 layers of newspaper on this mask. The way I like to do that is I cover everything one time, then I try to cover everything a second time, and then everything a third time. And by doing so, we hopefully get everything to the point where it's strong enough to hold up. We will end up adding some more layers when we add some features to this, but we need to build up a good strong base first. So, trying to cover up all of that plastic bag, or if you're using a balloon, covering up all of the balloon. And then after we've done this one time, we'll want to do it a second and third time. And then you want to set it aside somewhere that it can dry. And it's probably going to take about a day for it to dry, depending on how many layers of newspaper you have, depending on how wet you left your paper after you wiped it off. It could take a day, it might even take 2 days. It will dry. but don't skip layers just to try to get it to dry faster. But there we go. Now I have mine covered my first time, and then I would do that again for my second and third time. The one place where I'm not going to do that exactly the same is along these eyelids. I kind of, from folding it, already had 2 layers. So what I would just do there is just try to get close to that edge and add another piece. But you don't have to fold it again. Just get close with some pieces and add another piece there. But I hope that helps, and happy paper macheing. And check out the next video so you can see about adding details. Have a great day.